All right. Good evening, everyone. If I can get the District 2 candidates up on the stage, please. We're going to get this thing started at 6:15 sharp. District 2 candidates to the stage. Unless you don't want to run anymore. Sorry we had to get y'all a little cozy in order to get y'all in the frame. All right, program's about to start, everybody. Please take your seats if you haven't. If you need refreshments and snacks, they're over here on my left. All right. Welcome, everyone. This is our Oakland 2025 Special Election Candidate Forum. Who would have thought we'd be here today? But thank you all for joining us. We're going to focus on housing, climate, and transit this evening. My name is Victor Flores. I'm with Greenbelt Alliance. And before we begin, I want to acknowledge the team that organized tonight's forum. I want to say thank you to East Bay for Everyone, Save the Bay, and the Housing Action Coalition. Next, I want to thank our candidates for running and our audience for doing their civic duty and of evaluating who will lead Oakland through these challenging times. 10 candidates are running for mayor and 6 for District 2. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. We love fact checking over here. They're not here. We'll get into that in a little bit. But we have 6 of those candidates here today. Before I introduce our moderator, I will outline the flow of our program tonight. For the first half of today's program, we will focus on the Oakland City Council District 2 race. The last half will be all about the mayor's office. The candidates will be asked a series of questions and have about 60 to 120 seconds to answer. Those are going to be the organizational questions. We're also going to have some rapid fire questions. The candidates have red and green paddles at the table. That will indicate whether they do support something or don't. Green, support. Red, don't. We'll also take some audience questions. When we begin with the opening statements, I will start a countdown for 10 minutes. We have some runners around here. Runners, if you can raise your hands. We have runners with postcards and pens. They will pass a index card and a pen to you if you want to ask a question. Within 10 minutes, we will close it. I'll take the cards, and then we'll pass those on to our candidates later. For the beginning, candidates will get an opening question. Sorry, I went over that already. Okay, now with that said, I want to introduce our moderator. We're very fortunate to have Megan Imperial from East Bay for Everyone. Please give her a warm welcome. Megan is a political and policy advocate who just spent the last year and some change working on multiple campaigns. We're lucky to have her, so thank you so much. Megan, if you want to step up, the floor is going to be yours right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Victor. And thank you to all the organizations for hosting this. Again, my name is Megan Imperial. It's a privilege to be here with you all. How's everybody doing tonight? Awesome. Well, I know you're not waiting to hear from me. We have 3 lovely candidates that are all putting it on the line tonight. So we're going to start off with a simple question going down this line this way. What's your name? Why are you running? And what do you want to achieve? And we'll start with Kara. And just to make sure candidates know, you just press the button on top.
Hi, my name is Cara Murray-Badal. I am a native of District 2, and the question is why I want to run. So I never thought I would run for anything. I haven't run for anything since city council or student council at Crocker Highlands Elementary School. But when the former council person won her Alameda County seat, I got like 15 calls in the span of a weekend, like, "Hey, we think you should run." And I love Oakland. I finished graduate school. I went to the Harvard Kennedy School and then the Wharton School of Business, and was thinking about moving to DC or moving to New York. And I just was like obsessed with my city and wanted to come back to it. And so it felt like one of those things where if I came back to Oakland because I wanted to do work in Oakland, then I was going to do that, for real, and put my hat in the ring for this city council race. And so I'm really excited about being here. And the last part of your question was,
What do you want to achieve?
yeah, so I actually work in housing affordability, and right down the street, actually, an organization called Turner Labs, and we look at a bunch of organizations that are trying to do work in the housing affordability space, and the criteria that we always work on is equity, sustainability, accessibility. And so I think my hopes for Oakland are very similar, that I obviously want to be building housing, want to be building safer communities and neighborhoods, more walkable neighborhoods, and to be thinking about that with the lens of equity, sustainability, and accessibility.
All right, great. Let's go to Charlene next.
Okay, so my name is Charlene Wang. I do pronounce it Wang, and it is spelled W-A-N-G. But if you say Wang, I'll be okay. And what was the second part of this question, Megan?
What's your name? Why are you running? And what do you want to achieve?
Okay, yes. So the reason I am running is because for me, Oakland was the source of stability for me when I was a kid. My grandparents actually lived here. They lived in Oak Center Towers and later St. Mary's Center. So senior affordable housing right off the highway. And I was raised here on the weekends, would come to Chinatown. And honestly, during my childhood, it was a rough time, I'll be honest. And Oakland's Chinatown in Oakland was my sense of safety and my sense of community. And for a lot of, I almost don't recognize Oakland's Chinatown today. It is so different. There is not that sense of safety. It's a ghost town. The businesses are boarded up at 3 p.m. And so that is a lot of what drives me, is just how much Oakland and the whole district has changed in many ways. I've spent my career just as a policymaker, really working to fight for disadvantaged communities, to fix government at local, federal, and state governments, to work on behalf of working class and disadvantaged families based off of my own experience. And my time's up, so I'll get to what I want to achieve next round.
Hi, my name is Kanitha Matoury. First, I'm going to add upon what Charlene said, because I live in the heart of Chinatown. I moved there 6 years ago during my separation. I love Chinatown. I love the city of Oakland. I live in District 2, right in the heart. I shop there, live there, do everything there. And my business for 18 years, called Spice Monkey, some of you might know, in Houghton Market, is in District 3. And I also have some property in District 4. Love Oakland. Who I am. I'm from Cambodia originally, but came to Oakland nearly 20 years ago. And I like to say I am the true public servant, because I serve food and drink and entertainment. We ran comedy shows, live music, poetry night, all kinds of stuff. Spice Monkey was not just a simple restaurant. It was actually a community hub. And that's who I am. A mother of two, 9-year in U.S. Air Force veterans, study finance, love people, like making people money, and I like to make people smile, and I like to make sure they're taken care of. What I like to achieve for Oakland, there's a lot. I am frustrated, but I am stem from compassion. And love where you live is my campaign slogan. It's the welcoming people to say, stand with me, water the ground that you love. If you're a mother like me, you fight for what you love. I want to protect Oakland. I want to change what's going on in Oakland. 18 years, it's very frustrating to see what's going on here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, we're going to get into some organizational questions now. You each will have 90 seconds. And we're going to start with Kanitha and go back this way. So where in District 2 would you like to see planning for additional housing growth?
Well, for District 2, there's a lot of empty lots that are around. There's ones definitely across, I believe, 13th Street. They're just empty. Right now, it's like some morning, there's a lot of food being given away. There's a line of people. I don't know if you guys know Fortune Cookie. It's like the oldest cookie factories in Oakland. You can go and take a visit. They are amazing people. Alex and his girlfriend, and I call her Mama. She's still there making cookies. There's a lot right on the corner. There's so many lot in Oakland that is definitely need to be addressed and build more housing. So, that's just one that I see as a lot of bird hanging out right now that I could think of on the top of my head. And definitely the signature group got the a lot that was approved many years ago. I don't know what's going on with that. Ballsy calls me to see if I wanted to help them design to do a plug and play for a restaurant where people can come and kind of like, if they want to do a pop-up. And that was right before COVID in 2019. And that project is still stalling. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. Yeah. So that's a lot of housing supposed to be.
Thank you so much. Charlene?
All over the district, which it is not very specific, but I'll get to specifics. We have a serious regional housing crisis that is really driving so much of the homelessness and just basic lack of affordability that we have here in Oakland and the Bay Area. I am proud to have been a longtime partner with folks like the San Antonio Station Alliance, where we can have transit-oriented development there in the San Antonio neighborhood, which has been a lot of single-family zoning. It was only, I think, 1 or 2 years ago that the city of Oakland actually banned single-family zoning. Good, but we have a lot more ways to still go, because what it allowed for was everything up to fourplexes. And honestly, we have room to do more. We really can. Even in Trestle Glen, as I've been canvassing, I've seen areas where there's like 12-unit apartments. This is the stuff that will truly make housing affordable for all of us. I'm a renter myself. I feel the burn in my paycheck every single time. But definitely in where we have grids, in San Antonio, that is a key place where we need to build more housing. It's there where we can also build more transit lines. And also in Chinatown, that BART station is going through a renaming, and we have an opportunity to build a lot more affordable housing there too. I'm excited to really make that a central hub for the Chinatown community with affordable housing, market rate housing, to really ensure that that community is put forward on a thriving, more bright path. Thanks.
Cara?
This is hard because I just feel my nerd powers activating when we start talking about housing. But yeah, I actually agree with Charlene a lot. I think we should be building everywhere. I do think that we should be building differently in different places. Transit-oriented development is like a core part of what I want in the city of Oakland. So building around Chinatown, building around our BART stations, I think is really important. And beefing up our transit stations in accordance with the creation of more housing. My coworker, his name is Zach Subin, works specifically in housing and climate. And he's always like, we want the housing in transit areas to be like DEFCON 5 level housing, which sounds insane, but he has a point in that like transit oriented development is the most environmentally sound development. And then when I live in Crocker Highlands, I grew up in Crocker Highlands, and the ability and the possibilities for densifying there, I think, are really strong. And obviously the people who live there have strong feelings about adding a lot of housing, but there is a lot of progress and potential that can be made even inside of those neighborhoods. Some of the recent laws that have passed, like SB 9 and all of the ADU laws, have allowed for densifying some of those neighborhoods. I think we should be pushing our neighbors in the Crocker Highlands neighborhood to densify in ways that make sense for the community. I'm not trying to put a 500 person apartment in the middle of Trestle Glen, but I do think there's tons of opportunity for doing infill there. And talking about San Antonio Station, the possibility of building a San Antonio Station and making it another transit hub is really cool. I think obviously we have like the Brooklyn Basin area, which is amazing, and building more housing there has been really exciting, but there's no good transit in and out of it. And so we've lost the transit oriented part of that. And so I think there's so many opportunities across the district to do housing.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, so we're going to get into using your handy dandy little sticks there. So the city is planning to repave Grand Avenue. There's a chance to redesign and improve safety. Yes or no? Do you support a protected two-way bike path on Grand Avenue along Lake Merritt? All right, 3 yeses. Love that. Yes or no? Do you support protected bike lanes connecting Lake Merritt to the Grand Lake Commercial District and through the district? All right. And this one is not yes or no, so you can put those down. What is your vision for mobility and street design along Grand Avenue, and what would be your main considerations in reviewing a proposal? We'll start in the middle with Charlene, go to Kara, and then make our way back to Kanitha.
So I'm actually someone who does not own a car myself. Well, I am borrowing my mom's car, full confession during the course of this campaign. Otherwise, I'm a transit user and I'm a bike rider. And I have to say that that corridor feels genuinely so dangerous to me. Like I have ridden down that path and I've done the thing that you're not supposed to do as a bike rider where you're riding on the sidewalks because I'm muttering expletives to myself as I'm riding down the street because I feel like I'm about to get killed at any second. So I very much just think, look, the thing about transportation when we talk about bike lanes and bus lanes and all these things, it's all linked to affordability. I was lucky to have lived in the East Coast for a number of my years, and what I found was so enlightening about the urban design that was there is that even when the housing costs are high, what makes actually East Coast cities more affordable to live in is the fact that you don't need to rely on a car. Our cost of living is high enough. Let's do everything that we can do to put in bus lanes. We need more bus rapid transit. We need bike lanes. This is the perfect weather where we can have year-round biking right here in Oakland. And that's all going to bring down the high cost of living that we are all struggling with here. But when it comes to Grant, I very much protected bike lanes are always top priority. In a light of a budget crisis, I will say a lot of what I want to do is to put in things called quick build so we can use things like traffic cones, things like that, to immediately make changes here in Oakland. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll go to Kara next, I believe, and then we'll get you up.
Yeah, it's a problem that's very near and dear to my heart because I bike from the Crocker Highlands area to downtown every day. And so I'm very aware of what it's like to do that bike. I am in support of protected bike lanes. I actually think the best part of my bike ride is that part of Telegraph that's protected. Like it just feels completely, for all the people who are bikers are like, yeah, that's that. Like you hit that smooth spot and you're like, I'm going. But yeah, I think that's so like creating more of those neighborhood bike lanes, I feel like is, it's useful to the city. It makes biking feel safer and it makes biking more palatable. I think that's the part that also we don't think about as much. It's just like the culture is not of biking for a lot of people. And the more that we have protected bike lanes, the more that we see people on the street, the more that we manifest that. I do want to talk a little bit about transit though, because for a lot of people, like biking is a great option if you have a family. Biking is not necessarily an option for your main commute. And the larger question of transportation, I think, is a really big one. I think AC Transit ends up, actually my colleague Daryl Owens just wrote a piece about AC Transit and how he actually now uses a car even though he's very transit conscious. And it really is about the fact that the AC Transit lines don't come frequently enough. There is not a clear infrastructure for how we connect BART to AC Transit. And it just does a huge disservice to so many of our neighbors, to Charlene's point about just being able to get from point A to point B on the bus for real. It's like not really an option for a lot of people, or it doesn't feel like a real option. Or if you have to use it, you end up with extremely long wait times. And I think there is a huge need for the city council to be more supportive, the AC Transit board to bring to light the way that our city board, that our AC Transit and our BART boards work together, or the lack thereof, in order to actually make changes to those systems.
Great. Kanitha?
All right. Well, I'm a bike lover. I bike everywhere. I love biking. I don't have cars, but I do share a car with my partner. Since my separation of 20 years of marriage, I moved to downtown where I can actually walk to my business, which is 4 blocks, 5 blocks. So I bike everywhere. We definitely need to address the traffic safety situation because I also almost got hit. I don't know how many times, kind of watching my life flashes before my eyes. So we definitely need to do something about that. American in general is not a very promote cars, but for me, urban living, you should definitely ride a bike. Number one, it's healthy, it's get out there. I like to say, when you drive, you don't really feel the city. When you walk, you really taste the city. When you bike, you can like smell the city. So therefore, I promote biking, protection, all of that. I'm going to depend on, the DOT and all of it. So yeah, urban living, healthy for me. My dad who passed, we're all a biker. So therefore, my cousin bike all around the world. We have they have a cool shop online. They're all in France. So yeah, biking, yes.
All right, awesome. We'll get to the last question for this portion. The recently passed Proposition 4 is going to make $110 million available for stormwater management and system upgrades in California. How would you ensure that Oakland is a competitive candidate for this funding? We'll start with Kanitha, and then we'll go to Kara again, and then Charlene.
Make sure we inform and don't miss any deadline with paperwork or grant or any of that stuff. I think that's a start.
Great, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think that obviously you're making sure that we actually file and do like our paperwork. As Kanitha is right, actually, about that. I think the other things that are interesting is like, how do we paint Oakland as a city that really has need in this area? We obviously do. Like when we talk about storage drain systems, those things are out of date for our city, and we also are a port city. That's a big part of the way that we work. And so, I guess functionally, I think there's a lot of opportunity to position ourselves for those funds, and because the need is great and real inside of this city. I think that's all.
So beyond actually applying to the grant, the other thing is you want to actually also administer the grant well. That's the other key thing that cities are really challenged with. And I will say too, when it comes to storm risks across our city, the flatlands, if you look at a map, are really at risk as we look at climate change. It's concerning, right? And these are the communities that are already dealing with a lot of burdens related to pollution, lead, and just contaminants in the everyday air and soil that they're breathing. And so this is why the stormwater problem really is going to be a major thing that we are looking at. And so, yes, we should absolutely do everything we can to be competitive and make sure we can bring in that money and most of all, protect our most disadvantaged communities here in Oakland as climate change is upon us. Thank you.
All right, now we're going to get into some more rapid fire questions. These will be where you use, again, your handy dandy tools there. First question, yes or no, do you support an infill BART station serving the San Antonio neighborhood? All right, San Antonio folks, take note. Yes or no, do you support the Brooklyn Basin proposal to develop Estuary Park parcel into townhomes? I know, what are we gonna say?
Can you repeat that?
You have to pick one. All right. Do you support the Brooklyn Basin proposal to develop Estuary Park parcel into townhomes?
Does it have to be yes or no?
Has to be yes or no.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Good feedback. Good feedback. Yes or no? Do you support improved building standards for new developments that face flood risk?
I don't know enough about it, but
Yes or no? Did you support the citywide missing middle rezoning to allow fourplexes and other small apartment buildings in single family zoned areas?
Yes, but it didn't go far enough.
Noted. All right, great. Yes or no? Should most new housing in Oakland be approved ministerially without requiring a hearing in front of the Planning Commission or Council? Ooh, spicy. All right. Yes or no? Do you support resilience and nature-based solutions in the general plan? All right. We're agreeing on a lot of things here. All right. These last two are not yes or no. So, what is your favorite bus line? We'll go straight down this way. Bus line.
First, so when I don't ride my bike to work, I ride the 29. I have very mixed feelings about the 29 because it is only me on the bus for a lot of the time that I'm on the bus. Like I can do my whole office. I do a full half an hour of work on the 29 bus. I think we should figure out a path that allows for more ridership on that bus. But yeah, for me, because it is my living my life to work and I actually can work on the bus on the 29. I love the 29. It is my sanctuary.
Love for the 29. All right, Charlene.
I'm a big fan of the 1T, just because it is bus rapid transit, and I think it just brings you to so many different neighborhoods and communities throughout Oakland, including East Oakland, and that's what really makes me appreciate 1T. And it's a community on that bus line, and actually it is very well written too. So that's why I love the 1T.
Is fun.
Yeah.
Okay, Kanitha?
Yeah, 1T, and then of course the green bus on Broadway is free. You can take from Broadway up and down to the ferry. I like that. I also like the Amtrak. It's very meditating. Again, I walk and ride my bicycle, so don't take too much bus, but those will be my favorite.
Awesome. All right. What is your favorite park in D2? And we'll go reverse order. Kanitha, Charlene, Cara.
Well, I like the Lincoln Park. The boat. It's the history. I don't know if you guys know the history on the boat. It's how people came from, I guess, China, immigrate. Everyone was fit on a boat and it came. And I have my kid play on there all the time. It's amazing. People play soccer. It's literally across the street from where I live. So I like that park a lot. I go there all the time.
So I'm biased. I like FM Smith Park. It's a less well-known park that I live really close by, but the reason I really like that park is because there's always basketball players and roller skaters going through that park, and it's just got a really vibrant sense of community, which is why I really love it. Of course, sometimes my dog always manages to eat either dog poop or some other type of feces every time I let him go off leash, which is just disgusting. But anyways, other than that, I love that park. So yeah.
I can't let my dog off leash. My dog is named two-time Academy Award-winning actor Mahershala Ali, and he is a menace to society. So, but I'm gonna agree with Kanitha on Lincoln Park. I grew up in the district, I think I mentioned, and we used to have parties at Lincoln Park. There was always parties at the rec center, and so some of my first high school dances were at Lincoln Park. And I think the other part that I love about it now, though, is that it's become become a resilience hub, and it's got this it's the most used park in the district, and it also has become this place of thinking about environmental justice and creating resilient hubs inside of our community. So it's got this really cool dual thing for me where I both get to have these memories of having been there when I was a teenager, and also get to look at as an example of how we bring community in and how we bring environmental justice in, and it feels like it's doing all of those things. And so that's really sweet for me.
Oh, one more thing, free breakfast pancake on Easter on that part. All the time. It's amazing. And kid playing music at night, all the teenager play basketball. I felt like I'm not even in Oakland. It's amazing. Sometimes they play to 1 or 2. I come home, they're still there out playing. It's an amazing park. Soccer, they got a soccer field, tennis, everything, yeah.
Sorry, we're not teaming up on you, Shirley.
All right. So we're going to now get into, most of you may have submitted, if you didn't already know, we are taking audience questions. And so I believe we're still taking we're not taking any more audience questions, but for mayoral, you will have another opportunity. So we're going to get into some of those. We already have some submissions here. You will all have 60 seconds to answer, and we have quite a few audience questions. So let's see what we got here. 1 minute. As a resident of San Antonio, I have seen neighbors have to take traffic calming measures into their own hands. What would you do to address this issue in our community? And we'll go this way, starting from Cara, Charlene, then Kanitha.
Yeah, I've gotten to talk to quite a few people in San Antonio about this issue in particular, and I think the issue of slowing down traffic in San Antonio for me is a really important one. Obviously, the sex trafficking work that is happening in San Antonio is affecting the neighbors, affecting the streets. And because like East 14th and East 12th are both, or sorry, International and East 12th are both like corridor, like basically like quick corridors. And a lot of the stopping that happens there is specifically connected to the sex work. Obviously, the neighbors in that neighborhood are trying to slow the street down. And I think it's also one of the areas that's least canopied. It's like it's least green. There's not enough tree coverage. There's not enough just like outside things happening. And so for me, I am in large support of the work to try to create traffic stops and slow things down. Obviously, we are in a budget crisis and traffic circles actually cost a lot of money, and the makeshift options sometimes are dangerous as well. And so I think it is a matter of working with community to figure out a safe option to try to slow down streets while we're working towards the budget to actually be able to put in those deeper safety measures and those slowdown measures, because I do want people to be able to reclaim their neighborhoods and streets. And to me, that's also a big part of public safety.
Yeah, I mean, man, what's happening in San Antonio? They are really, that community is grappling with so much. And when it comes to the traffic safety, right, it is, serious reckless driving. We've got sideshows. We do need to seriously put in some just infrastructure upgrades. So that community has really gone vigilante in the most admirable way. They've put in just these rubber bumps and whatnot in the road. I want to shout out Councilmember Fife for her good work on really implementing a community-based solution. I want to expand upon that and really do that in a urgent and manner. That way we can really expand that throughout the district and provide guidelines. That way communities can continue to take agency and really go ahead and implement these solutions. But furthermore, I do think we need to change the culture of the department. That way it's not a department of no, where the Department of Transportation is primarily concerned with their liability in a car accident, in case a driver gets into an accident. But what about the pedestrians, right? And so we got to change that. Thank you.
Well, for me, public safety is everything. Without public safety, we simply just don't have a town where we can walk the street or visit or do business or anything. We just really have just kind of, I don't know. It's really bad. As someone who have been experiencing crime, and my dad does live on 11 and International, what stamped me to run when, he died in July 2023. And again, we don't have safety. We don't have police department that doesn't have a budget for anything. And that's the first thing they'll tell you. Howden Market's been robbed. I don't know how many times. I got a car drive inside. It's all kinds of stuff. So for sure, I have blood on the soil in D2. That's how I got in it. So public safety, all of that in San Antonio is dear to me, for sure. It's high gun violence and sex trafficking. It's almost like Crocker Highland is heaven and San Antonio is hell right here on earth. Yes. So we'll need to address that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I forgot to mention this. If you do not want to answer a question, you do not need to. So just keep that in mind as well. That's just a disclaimer. Nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about. All right. The next question is, the recent LA fires seem to continue a trend to more and more extreme catastrophes caused by climate change. Wouldn't it seem prudent and I'm wanting to make sure I'm getting this right. Prudent and to pause building more homes in high fire risk parts of Oakland until we figure out how to keep those homes safe. So I'll just repeat it one more time. The recent LA fires seem to continue a trend to more and more extreme catastrophes caused by climate change. Wouldn't it seem more prudent to pause building more homes in high fire risk parts of Oakland until we figure out how to keep those homes safe? So we'll start with Charlene and then go to Kanitha, then Cara.
Yeah, I mean, So my day job is I work at the Environmental Protection Agency. So I do think about the climate risks that are upon us very much. And I think, I do agree that it would be prudent as much as I do want to build more housing. But I think there's a couple of things that we could look at so that we can, because I do think that we do need to address the housing crisis. We have a lot of eucalyptus trees out there in the hills. These are very flammable, right? And so we need to look at different ways to reforest and replant new types of trees here in Oakland that can stem that problem. The other problem that's really key is the insurance, right? Insurance is no longer even offered in those areas, or it's starting to diminish, in fact, because of the fire risk that is present. And so we do need to work with our state insurance agencies to make sure that insurance can continue to be available. And that way, anyone who does purchase a home does have coverage in the case of this sort of horrifying disaster that we're seeing in LA. Thank you.
Yeah, it's complicated. Okay. So fire risk, obviously a big issue. I think the places that make the most sense to build are often also some of the better insulated places. Like when we talk about downtown corridors and transit oriented corridors, at least in the city of Oakland, those are places that we want to keep building, and also are some of our safest, like fire centers. Charlene's absolutely right that there's trees in the hills and there's insurance issues. In LA, when the fires happened, like 9,000 people had been dropped from their insurance like the month before the fire happened. And at the same time, I have no love for insurance companies in particular, but the fact that insurance companies are worried about insuring, I do think is a little bit of a canary in the coal mine, which is that if they are really worried about insuring there, it is because there is high fire risk. And so I think we should be working with insurance companies, we should be working with the state, and also we should be realistic about where the fire risk is the highest. Absolutely, we should be using that consideration when we build. And also, we are in a housing crisis, and the ability to be able to build thoughtfully now is really important to the overall support of the infrastructure of the city and the well-being of its people. And so it is complicated.
I'll just add upon that. Yes, I feel the pain of some of my friend who lives on those expensive homes in the hill. Yeah, they don't have insurance. They are suffering from that, and also, they have to clear I guess it's some of their garden or wood oils. They'll get fined. Apparently, that's what they told me. They're struggling with getting insurance, but again, we're in housing crisis, and definitely some of those trees. I did tech botany class in college, and they are high fire, and they're from Australia. So yeah.
So the next question is, too many streets in Oakland feel unsafe and unwelcoming. Generally, this results from empty lots, dumping, empty storefronts, homeless encampments, and street crime. How can these issues be fixed in your term if you are elected? We'll start with Kanitha, then we'll go down the line.
So you said storefront, empty lot, and
Dumping,
Dumping.
homeless encampments, street crime.
okay. Well, public safety, again, we'll go into the same thing. Yes, we definitely need people to get into business. As you guys know, I am in 18 years in business. I built 2 business. It is already takes a lot of passions, energies, time, resource to build a business. And so now as I see some of my friends who lose their business and all the storefronts are getting boarded up, it's really sad with what's going on in downtown Oakland, especially, and all over town. And I don't know if you guys keep up with the number of how many businesses are closing in Oakland. I mean, it's rapid and it's crazy. So we definitely need to do something. Laws in order, illegal dumping, all of those. I like to say there is no laws, there is chaos. That's why we create government, policy, all of this. It's complicated, but yes.
Crime really is something that is very much affecting District 2, the District 2 community. There's a few things, right, that we can do. First of all, we have actually something called the Regional Mutual Aid Law Enforcement Regional Aid Agreement that we should invoke here to actually bring in some more resources here to Oakland. We also have the Alameda Sheriff that we can also call in to bring more resources. And here's the thing, right? My entire career has been spent on building social safety nets. The reason that I care about clamping down on the crime is because it has actually affected our most working class and poor communities. It really has. And you can see the nods, the nods in the room. Okay, this is why I do think it's important. I'm so sick of hearing from bus drivers, retail workers, people that are fast food workers who've been subjected to the crime. And this is why I really do think that we need to bring in some resources for law enforcement. We don't want over policing, but we need adequate policing. Okay,
Thank you.
So since it's going kind of in a public safety direction, I'll take it that way. So I've worked on policing in 4 different cities, in Baltimore, Maryland, in Albany, New York, and then I was the head of the transition team for Mayor Kim Janey around her crime and safety program. And then I came back, was on the reimagining task force here in the city of Oakland. And so policing in community safety is extremely important to me. It's like where I've spent a lot of my career. I will say, like, the truth of the matter when it comes to policing is that there are less and less people who want to be police officers across the country. The number is going down everywhere. And the Oakland Police Department will tell you that they're already understaffed. And so if that is the truth, then there are fewer and fewer police officers available across the country. And the way that we can deal with that is only by like paying them more and trying to lure more to a city that is hard to police already. I don't think it's a terribly feasible solution for how we deal with public safety in the city to be like, we're just gonna like keep hiring more and more and more, because it's really gonna be hard to do that. And I do think that there are lots of solutions that are happening across the country that are supporting public safety, that are bringing in civilianized solutions and allowing for more community take back and more support for mental health services outside of the police force. And
Thank you.
Yeah, just want to throw that out.
All right, we're going to get into our last question here. Again, whoever wants to answer this, what will you do to ensure all people wanting housing will get it? Whoever wants to answer this question.
Everyone wanting housing will get it. Yeah, I mean, I think most of us in this room probably believe that housing is a human right. I think the thing that we don't talk about very often is what do we have a right to? And in this case, in Oakland, certainly the housing prices are quite expensive. It's hard to buy, which makes it also hard to rent, which makes it hard to live. And I think, I think about housing in terms of this triangle of supply, stability, and subsidy. And because the stability part is hard, a lot of people are losing their homes in the moment of crisis where they are behind on one bill and suddenly can't pay their mortgage. And then we're like funneling more people into the streets. There's just like not a clear cycle in the way that we work in keeping people in their homes in the city. And there's not enough housing being built to bring the prices down in the city. So it is really a difficult problem. Obviously, housing funding largely comes from other sources outside of the city, but I think Oakland certainly has a role in like innovation. That is my day job is about bringing innovative solutions across the country up to scale. And there are absolutely solutions that can be implemented in Oakland to try to do more innovation and bring more housing in.
Great. Anyone else want to answer?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at it. So I actually previously had worked on reforming homelessness response systems. Part of the problem with the way that we address homelessness here is that we actually put people on waiting lists that say the longer that you've been on the streets, then do you get access to housing resources. And so much of the focus of our policy making has been on something called permanent supportive housing, which I think is all and well, but it takes, as we know, just terribly long to build housing. So I think we do have to get more innovative with our approaches. That includes actually intervening when someone has been on the street for a week. That's the point in time that we need to be proactive and get them off the streets and into housing. It could be as simple as a short-term subsidy into one of our many vacant units that we have here in Oakland. It could be as simple as that, right? We need to do that because right now what we have a system is what I call cruelty by bureaucracy, cruelty by design, and we need to upturn and change these systems around. Thank you.
I'll just build upon that. For sure, as a renter myself, I like to say we're all a couple paycheck from being homeless ourselves. Life is very stressful. Bay Area is very expensive and unaffordable. Every time we have any more fees being pawned and any more, we just, we're the people, we're paying for it. Yes. And also, I also grow up in a household where my parent tells me there's nothing free in life. You have to work hard, but definitely looking at having more accessibility and more inventory and more information, and looking at the triage situation on how we deal with the unhoused crisis, and definitely save someone before they become homeless or on the verge, women with children, elder, all the different way, because right now it's not working. The only thing is, if we're spending more on unhoused is by the millions, and we have more unhoused by the minute. So it's crazy. It's something that we need to address.
Thank you. All right, you all did wonderful. So we're going to close off with some closing statements. 90 seconds. We'll start off with Cara, Charlene, then Kanitha.
I think the first thing is just I want to thank you all so much for being here tonight. I know it is Tuesday? It's a Tuesday. It's the beginning of the week. And so I feel extremely grateful to be here with you. I think the thing that I really want to end with is for those of you who are D2 residents and just Oakland residents in general, it is extremely important to me to be building and making these decisions in a co-governance model. Obviously, I work in housing in the community input portion of how we build and how we think about it. While sometimes tenuous, is an extremely important part. And when we talk about like areas like San Antonio and Clinton Park, we're talking about neighborhoods where the community hasn't necessarily had a voice in the way that their city is working and functioning. And I'm really excited about being on city council specifically because it gives me lots of opportunities to work with y'all and figure out what solutions work in our city. Like I said, I do innovation for my job, and I've seen really amazing housing solutions all over the country. And it feels like a great joy to be able to bring that work to my hometown and do it with my neighbors. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll just add on to what Cara has said. It's incredible to see this crowd. I don't think, at least I wasn't prepared for this. So this is amazing to see just so many folks interested in what we have to say. And this is really, honestly, a very scary and uncertain time in Oakland, if I'm being honest. And I just, for me, my closing argument, and I can see just a lot of the shared uncertainty and fear that I have, that you all have in terms of when we're reading those headlines, right? We're seeing the layoffs of like public safety personnel when we already have an issue with crime. And what I would say right now is I'm someone I've spent my entire career with that mission focused on really fixing governments to work better for the people. Just given with my own family's experience in falling into poverty, I knew that if there were better services provided, that what happened to my family didn't have to happen to everybody else. So this is what my mission has always been, and it's been to work at federal, local, and state levels, all with this idea that government really, it's a simple idea, should be here to serve the people. And that's what I want to do. We have a really new city council. I know I can hit the ground running during this time. And it's not going to be an easy job. Honestly, the learning curve is going to be steep for anyone who takes this on. But I promise to each and every one of you that I will use the skill set that I've learned over the years to do my very best and to bring all the tools that I have from over the years that I brought in policymaking. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I am the crowd is overwhelming here. I think this is the largest since I ran for the at-large, and this is the largest crowd that we have for the forum. So thank you for being here this evening, and it's amazing to be able to have the opportunity to do it all over again. It's like, I lost the at-large, but I have the second chance to do it for the D2. For someone who never have the aspiration to be in politics because politics have destroyed my family. I'm originally from Cambodia. My mom worked on abortion right, built hospital. My dad worked on human right, and he still built that is still standing today. You can Google him. Just take out my name, put Kai, Khay, Matoury. You'll see what we have done for the Cambodian people. My mom was kidnapped when I was 17. I never want to be in politics. That's why I chose to be in arts, entertainment, food, as a chef. But I think that the city of Oakland is at a critical point. We need some adult in the house. We don't want a bunch of children with credit card running around charging things up. You want someone with a little life experience who have been through a lot, who have lost a lot, to make some really tough decision. The next couple years, I'm not going to lie, it's going to be hard, it's going to be tough. I have lived experience. I have weathered a lot in Oakland, from recession to inflation to protest to everything, you know. So I hope I earned your vote or put me somewhere between. I hope it's number one. I did collect 15,000
you.
vote in number two.
Thank
But
you.
anyhow, Kanitha, Matoury.
Awesome. Let's give a round of applause for our candidates. Thank you for taking the hot seat. You know, as a District 2 resident myself, it's great to hear, and I know a lot of people had some answers cleared up. So this concludes our District 2 portion. I ask that our candidates leave the stage so the mayoral candidates can now take their seats.
Thank you so much. You're amazing.
Thank you. You all have been a treat and pleasant to hear all the answers. So we're going to have a changing over of our candidates now for mayoral time. And we will now once again be taking questions from the audience. So if you didn't get a chance the first time around, make sure, can I have my runners? I have Allie in the back. Just raise your hands, please. All right, great. So if you have a question, please make sure you flag them down and request and submit your cards. Again, if you are an Oakland mayoral candidate, please step right up to the stage.
And just as a reminder for our candidates, on the tables, you have 2 paddles for our rapid fire segments. Green is for yes, you support something. Red is for no, you don't support something. Few minutes to settle.
All right, everybody. It's about that time to start our second portion of the evening. If I can get everybody to settle down, we got some snacks over there in the corner. Feel free to grab some, but we'd love your undivided attention. So we have three amazing candidates before us. Going to be, again, similar format as the previous if you had been here for the District 2 format. Again, my name is Megan Imperial. Excited to be moderating this next section for you. I'm going to go down the line this way, starting with Barbara Lee, then Loren Taylor, then Renia Webb. And we will hear an opening statement from each. You will get 120 seconds. And Laura here in the front, she will be our timekeeper. All right, when you're ready. And then just to make sure, in case folks don't know, for the mic, you just click on the top to turn it on.
Okay. Well, good evening. Let me first thank all of you for being here. This is really what democracy looks like and what it's about. And yes, I am running to be the next mayor of Oakland, California. I think at this point in time in our history, given the challenges that we face in Oakland, but given all the opportunities that we have before us, that I would like to lead this city because of several reasons. First of all, experience counts. I have had many years of experience as a legislature in Sacramento and as a member of Congress, and I have focused on local issues in terms of bringing home billions of dollars to make sure that my community benefited from my work at the national and state level. Secondly, I think it's time that somebody can bring some leadership to be able to unify the city. Everywhere I go, in all sectors of this city, people care about public safety, they care about housing, they care about government accountability and transparency, and they care about economic development and jobs. And bringing people together, and I'm proud to have the endorsement, for example, of the Oakland Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Alameda County Central Labor Council. And it makes this city, and makes me believe that this city can come together to form one agenda for one Oakland. And I believe that it's time that we bring in new ideas. I want to make sure that Oakland is a place where everyone is proud to live. We have our challenges, yes, but the beauty and the glass half full, as I said, is something that a mayor needs to highlight and to make sure that while we're addressing the challenges, that we do make sure that the rest of the city understands they have a mayor who's hands-on, who's going to want to make their lives better each and every day. And I want to do that as your mayor. And I thank you again for your support over the years as your member of Congress. Thank you again.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Loren Taylor. I also ask for your vote in this upcoming election, special election for mayor. I'm a third-generation Oaklander, a product of this incredible town. And I'm raising the fourth generation here with my wife, Dr. Erica Taylor. Professionally, I'm an engineer, a Haas MBA, a business management consultant, a professional problem solver. I fix things. Oakland is broken. We have a lot of challenges here, a lot of complex issues that have been around for decades. Doing the same old, and expecting different results is the definition of insanity, and it is not going to get us where we need to go. We need new energy, fresh perspective, and a deliberate focus on making the hard but necessary choices to get us through this current period so that we can all come out on the other side a bigger, better, more thriving city. My vision for Oakland is that we are the safe, clean city that we know we can be, that we are full of opportunities, and we are founded on a solid foundation of fiscal solvency. That's going to require hard work, hard decisions, and a dedicated focus from folks who have been on the ground at the local level solving real issues. I am the only candidate in this race who has served in City Hall as an elected official, helping to solve the problems that we've had, bringing people together. Like when I created and co-chaired the Reimagining Public Safety Task Force. Like when I pulled together stakeholders from across the spectrum to develop and then get approval for the encampment management policy that we have yet to see fully realize. Bringing folks together is good, but unity without action doesn't deliver the results that we need. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Renia Webb. My family has called Oakland home for 100 years. 5 generations of my family live in Oakland right now. And maybe one day I'll be a grandmother and we'll have 6 generations here. Safety, safety, safety is on everyone's mind. I'm an educator at Crocker Highlands Elementary School. This is a little note one of my students gave. And when I hear the stories of them telling me that their car got stolen the night before and their teddy bear was in it and they couldn't sleep last night, you see the impacts that crime has on our city. And it's interesting that Mr. Loren Taylor would bring up reimagining, because part of that he authored was to cut our police force by 50%. That's not acceptable or okay. Public safety is on our mind and we're not going to play with it. You know, when I tell people that I come from a family of service, you know, people could say a lot of things. Not only do I come from a family of service, I come from a family of first. My great-great-grandfather, Judge E.D. Estelle, was the first Louisiana Speaker of the House after the Reconstruction period. His daughter became the first missionary ordained in the Church of God in Christ. Her son became the first Black police captain here in Oakland, California. My grandfather was one of the first Black men to chart for the Oakland Symphony. Every instrument except the instrument that he most excelled at, which was the guitar. My great aunt was one of the first Black women to have her doctorate in education. The school building on 2nd Avenue is dedicated to her, Dr. Flora Taylor. My kid's grandmother, Richard Dean Howard, was the first woman in 125 years of the fire department to be promoted as captain. And this year, in 2025, I'll be the first Black woman mayor of Oakland, Mayor Webb. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So we're going to get into some organizational questions for you all right now. And we're going to start down the line and come reverse back this way. So new housing construction has reduced average rents in Oakland, but the pace of construction is slowing down. How could Oakland reverse this trend? Renia?
Well, what we're going to have to do is repurpose. We have a lot of property and a lot of land. For instance, I was just in DC, invited to Capitol Hill to enjoy meetings with our Congress members, our senators, our mayors, our stakeholders that actually are very much so invested in the future of Oakland. And while there, I actually stayed at a beautiful hotel that was a 100-year-old church. They kept the facade of the church, turned that into like a meeting room where all the hipsters and the locals came and did work and brought their dogs. It was clean, it was beautiful. They kept the pews from the church, had those in the hotel. They had a little bar area and they made it very community centric. That's what we're going to have to do to get serious. We don't have a lot of time and a lot of money, but what we can do is repurpose and use what we have already.
Loren?
We absolutely have to increase the pace of housing development here in our city. There are a number of ways that we can do that, and some that I've already been leading on the council. Number one, we have to streamline our building, permitting, and planning process. Government needs to get out of the way. We shouldn't be an obstacle, a roadblock, or a hindrance to achieving what we all agree is necessary. That's building more housing at all levels of affordability. So reimagining building and permitting. We also have to recognize the reality that right now it is cost prohibitive for most new development. So we've got to look at how we can reposition, repurpose existing buildings that need to be remodeled, redesigned, upgraded. We also have to look at how we can develop housing in more efficient ways. Development by design, using off-site modular construction to come in to reduce the cost and the timing. We also have to look at other modes of housing that may not require as much in terms of the infrastructure that's needed, shared common spaces, utilities for housing that's being developed. And yes, we have to focus on upzoning, creating opportunities for individuals to activate their sites, their lots, that increases not only the housing that's available, but also it increases their equity that they're able to build in intergenerational wealth.
Thank you. Ms. Barbara?
Thank you very much. Housing, affordable housing is one of the biggest issues here in Oakland that people are concerned about. And I believe that, one, we have to make sure that buildings that are vacant right now, zoning, permitting, if they can be converted into affordable units, then why don't we do that and have the city expedite the permitting process and have the owners work out agreements with the owners that we will be able to convert these into affordable units. Secondly, land trusts. I led in Washington supporting and making sure we funded the federal home loan land trust. Why can't we, and I think we should, engage with nonprofits, support nonprofits to purchase land, and then the property on that land is rehabbed, rented, or sold, and the cost of rentals are reduced because the price of the land is not included in the rental, the property. So land trusts are extremely important. Co-housing, extremely important. Also, I think it's important to look at, and I have one concern about our city garage that's here that's just empty. And I've looked at Savannah, Georgia, and in New York. A couple of garages have been converted into affordable housing. Now, whether they're environmental impacts, we'd have to learn and investigate, whether they're environmental upgrades we'd have to make in terms of earthquake standards, but there are buildings around town that we need to look at to see if we can make some decisions. Are they ready to be rehabbed and converted into affordable housing?
Thank you so much. So our next question is, the post-entitlement permitting process for multi-family housing in Oakland takes an unusually long time by state standards. Oakland has the longest average interval to complete and inspect a building in the state. What can the city do to speed up this process? And we'll go Loren, Barbara, then Renia.
Thank you. To speed up the building planning and permitting process, number one, we need to make sure that it's fully staffed and that city employees are brought back to work at least 4 days a week. City Hall has to be open. We cannot have folks coming to City Hall facing closed, locked doors with a sign that says, come back tomorrow or schedule an appointment and we'll get back to you. Number two, it's critical that we take the urgency that our residents, our developers, and other investors have in getting their projects done. So I have proposed that we implement a shot clock for the city that says we need to do our job within a certain period of time, and if not, the residents, the developers, others are able to move forward. We can no longer stand in the way of housing development and keep us from hitting those goals, from housing our residents as quickly as possible. In addition, when we look at what's going on, we have to bring in outside experts that know how to optimize the building planning permitting process outside of the city. If other cities do it well, let's tap into their knowledge, their expertise. We don't have to pretend that we are the experts at everything. Let's tap into those experts and make sure that we develop it. And finally, I'll say we cannot develop solutions for people unless those people are at the table. So those who are actually going through the process, working through it, pulling them in as thought partners to develop solutions that we haven't thought of ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lee?
I agree that the process must be expedited, and permitting and addressing the issues around licensing and zoning required our departments to work together, and staff need to know who's doing what and who's responsible for what. So accountability is extremely important. Timetables are extremely important. Making sure that the goals of a permit in terms of timeframes are adhered to. What I've learned in many instances, personally and with residents of Oakland, is that people don't know what department to go to. They may get bounced around or referred to another department and to another department. So I believe that it's important to make sure that staff understands their roles and responsibilities and work with supervision, with goals and timetables to be able to make sure that the permits are provided on time, because yes, time is money, and people deserve to have their city work for them. Right now, this is an example of how much of the city is broken, because we don't see the transparency, and we don't see the systems in place that will allow the accountability to be checked and assured, so that the public and the residents of Oakland get what their tax-paying dollars are paid for.
Thank you so much.
First, can I just say, Oakland is beautiful. Oakland is magical. We have such a rich history, and when I keep hearing we're broke, it's a mess, it's a this, we have to first change our own narrative. We have to start looking at our city differently. If we don't, as leaders, see the greatness in our city, how can we expect our citizens, the world, to see anything different? Next, I want to say I did have the privilege of working for the East Bay Asian Local Development Corporation for several years in their executive team. You might know a couple of my projects. I took Bluebird Liquor Store, that was on 34th, and San Pablo, one of the many liquor stores in the neighborhood. It is now Fantastic Negrito's Storefront Records, where he recorded a Grammy Award-winning album out of. The vacant lot that was next door, that was my second project. I helped transform that into an open air marketplace where we had entrepreneurship and business. So I'm very familiar with the permitting process. I've worked in all avenues of the process. It's going to take accountability. Thankfully, our city administrator just ordered our workers to come back to the office 4 days a week, so that's already taken care of. It's about responsibility. It's about having metrics. It's about keeping a transparent pipeline so that our community can hold these departments accountable. I'm going to do it, but we as a community have to do it as well.
Thank you so much. So our next question is, Oakland pays 2 to 3 times as much as peer and nearby jurisdictions for routine public works like ADA curb ramps, sidewalks, and bike lanes. 1 unit of affordable housing in Oakland now costs nearly $1 million per unit. How would you hold down costs so we deliver more infrastructure and low-income homes for Oaklanders? We'll start with Barbara Lee, go to Renia Webb, and then Loren Taylor.
Holding down costs, that's extremely important, but we have to have a way to incentivize developers and contractors to be able to hold down the costs, because also we have to have a requirement for a certain number of affordable units in developments. Holding down the costs means that we have to make sure that people have access to, if they're renting, an apartment where they can afford. And so working with whatever is left of HUD would be very important. If we have a federal government, working with the state, and also bringing in outside resources is going to be very important. to make sure that we can hold down the cost of building, but also hold down the cost of making sure that people can afford to rent apartments, houses, condos, co-housing, or whatever they so decide to do. But the cost of building is the cost of building, and we're going to have to make sure that we incentivize the developers and the builders to help reduce the costs, and we have to do that by bringing in public-private resources from the outside.
Ms. Webb?
Again, as I was saying earlier, it's about reusing, repurposing properties that we already have. We have so many vacant warehouses. Those can be repurposed for homeless shelters. We have so many vacant buildings, hotels. We just now have Hilton. Those can be homeless wraparound service facilities. Again, while I was with Ebalzi, I had the privilege of going to training across our nation, which was hosted by NeighborWorks. NeighborWorks is a conglomerate of like Ebalzi, Saha, Bridge Housing, all these partners, and then they also have the private sector that's involved, and then they also have financiers such as the San Francisco Foundation was one of the financiers on the table. So I saw firsthand, I spent weeks in Detroit, in Seattle, in Brooklyn, seeing how they really, again, centered community in the building. They call it creative placemaking. I used to laugh and say, oh, that's what we call block parties. You know, activating our arts and our culture, green spacing, what we call our gray areas. These are ways that you activate the space, so then we have more developers that want to bring in the money. But that's how we're going to do it. It is the public-private partnership. Ebalzi, actually, the nation studies Ebalzi's formula. So how they acquired Swan's Marketplace, literally, I didn't realize that till I was in New York. And they're like, the world is studying how Ebalzi does their work.
Thank you so much. Mr. Taylor?
Yes. This is one that I'm familiar with as a business management consultant working with Fortune 500 to Fortune 50 companies, reducing costs and figuring out how to optimize and make more efficient our processes is absolutely critical. As a management consultant, I worked with one company to guide a strategic sourcing project where they went through their different vendors, contractors, and renegotiated contracts, rates. By engaging with them directly with a hard, specific ask, we were able to reduce spend in different categories by 15 to 20%. We in the city have an opportunity to engage with our partners and task them with giving us the best possible pricing to continue to have contracts with us. When we're spending more than $800 million a year on vendors, that is absolutely a leverage that we can exercise. And I know how to do that. We have to speed up our processes. Time is money. If we delay the processes of building, if we delay the process of getting boots on the ground to repave roads, if we delay the processes of us getting to work, delivering value for our residents, that is costly. One project that was delayed by a year and a half ended up doubling in price for the city. We've got to change that. The faster we act, the more dollars we can save as well.
Thank you so much. All right, so what you all see in front of you are some tools at your disposal. So we have one red and one green. This will be for our yes and no portion. We're keeping things light tonight, folks. So we got rapid fire for you all. Yes or no? Do you support a protected bike lane, a protected two-way bike path on Grand Avenue along Lake Merritt? All right. Yes or no? Do you support the Brooklyn Basin proposal to develop Estuary Park parcel into town homes? All right. Yes or no? Do you support protected bike lanes connecting Lake Merritt to the Grand Lake Commercial District and through the district? Greens across. Yes or no? Do you support an infill BART station serving the San Antonio neighborhood? All righty. Yes or no? Do you support removing 980? Got to keep it spicy. Yes or no? Do you support the citywide missing middle rezoning to allow fourplexes and other apartment buildings in single family zoned areas? Yes or no? Should most new housing in Oakland be approved ministerially without requiring a hearing in front of the Planning Commission or Council? All right, you all can put down our handy dandy tools, and we're going to go down the line and hear from you all. What is your favorite park in Oakland? Start with you. Mm-hmm.
The Martin Luther King Shoreline Park.
All right, love it.
As the former council member for District 6, I have to lift up Arroyo Viejo Park. It's an incredible park that we need to get more people out to. So if you haven't been there, come out and spend some time in Deep East.
Well, it's interesting. I was going to say Arroyo because I grew up playing in that park, and I helped get $1.5 million to help repurpose your park. But also, Montclair used to be my other favorite park because my family, that was our getaway from living on 82nd Avenue. And so equally are.
And we'll go reverse order with this question. What is your favorite bus line?
Well, when I lived on 82nd at 6:30 in the morning, I used to catch the 38 bus to school in Alameda. So that has a lot of history to me.
I've got to lift up the 40, the 40 line. It goes across the entire city from downtown all the way to Bayfair in San Leandro. You can get anywhere. And my grandfather, when he was up in age and not able to drive around much, would go down to Eastmont Mall Park and just ride the bus. And so a special line.
I think I'd have to say 40 also, and I was very proud to bring in funding for AC Transit to develop fuel cell technology here, which has spread throughout the country. And that bus line is an example of how we can have clean energy and buses run on fuel cell instead of fossil fuels.
Perfect. All right, so we got some questions from the audience. We love an engaging audience. Now, as I mentioned in the previous discussion and panel, you do not have to answer any question if you do not want to. If it speaks to you, though, feel free. What can the city do to preserve the affordable units we do have and help our affordable housing developers stay solvent in the face of massive rental disarray post-pandemic? And you will all have 60 seconds or 1 minute to answer.
I'll start. What a lot of people don't realize, it actually costs more money to build affordable housing. Again, we need it. We need the mixture, but it actually costs more money. It costs more tax dollars to build affordable housing. So a best use of our dollars, again, is going to be to reuse, rehouse properties that we do have. That's the only way we're going to be able to cut costs. But we're just going to have all market rate and affordable housing. We just can't have one without the other. It's not affordable. It's not cost effective. And yeah, I don't think people really realize like affordable housing actually is the complete opposite, as sad as it may sound, but it's just the reality.
Anyone else wish to answer, or we can move on to the next? Whoever wants to take it first, go for it.
I'll go ahead. I think it's absolutely a critical question to ask because we have a lot of defaults on housing properties, housing developments here in our city. And those defaults are reducing the value of those properties. It is causing property owners to need to walk away and just hand over title to the bank. And if we're not paying attention to this trend, it can easily erode our housing stock. It's important for the city to proactively engage developers and housing owners, support conversations with banks to come up with creative financing to maintain that housing stock at the level that's there. And when a housing developer is unable to or unwilling to stay in that building, that business, we have to be able to quickly identify additional owners that can come in, take over those properties, and maintain the benefit and the value of the affordable housing that we have created.
Thank
Number
you.
one. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, well, okay, just in, I believe it was 2023, I brought in about 25 million for affordable housing in Oakland, and also over the years, federal funding for rental assistance. And I share that because I think it's important to know that we have to look to our state to bring in better state assistance, low-income tax credits, private investment in order to keep the cost of rental units down. Public-private partnerships are going to be extremely important in the next few years. And in fact, having HUD, again, if we have a HUD left, I've worked in the past and would work again to make sure that fair market value rates were provided for landlords here in Oakland, which helps reduce the cost of rental for tenants by having a formula that will allow tenants to stay in housing instead of evictions because they're getting the fair market rate through HUD. And I've worked on that, and I would want to continue to do that with our federal officials.
Thank you so much. The next question is, what is your plan to combat homelessness and drug addiction? Every day I go to school, I see people failed by our society, and it breaks my heart to see my city like this. Whoever wants to go first.
I'll go ahead. Number one, we have to implement a performance management system across our city so that we have very clear goals, timelines, milestones to reach in order to achieve those. That addresses public works, public safety, and yes, our homelessness services. We have to know how we are doing in helping our unhoused neighbors progress from the state of being unhoused to having long-term sustainable housing. We have to understand, hold our partners, our homeless services nonprofit partners to the table to make sure that they are consistently engaging with our unhoused neighbors, not just coming by every couple months, because we know that's not enough to move folks, that they are effectively triaging our unhoused neighbors to understand what their unique needs are so that we can direct the appropriate services to meet them where they are and help guide them to where they could potentially be. And we have to continue to hold the county accountable because they are the ones funded primarily
so
to
much.
address it.
I know, 1 minute is super
That was
fast.
fast.
It's super fast. Anyone else would like to answer the question?
Well,
Sorry.
well, I'll just say it's a moral disgrace that we have so many people unsheltered. And there is a racial equity issue as it relates to the unsheltered population that we can't sweep under the rug. We have to look at preventing, first of all, people from becoming unsheltered, and that means we have to look at how evictions are taking place. Secondly, we have to make sure that once a person unfortunately becomes unsheltered, that that does not become home, and that we're able to ensure shelter, transitional shelter, leading to a permanent place to live, as well as the mental health services and the drug addiction services, whatever, drug rehab services, whatever is needed. But also, I'd like to look at piloting a project or two here with regard to what other communities have done, and that's providing for universal basic income for unsheltered people who need a job, because many of them need a job and job training. And
Thank you.
I'll finish later on that.
I know it's so tough. Right, last but certainly not least.
My grandmother would often say, and then my dad would often say to me, that's someone's child. I think sometimes we forget to remember that. We forget that it's our society, the pressures, the overpricing, the inflation, all the things of an environment that has caused that person to now live on the street. No one wants to live homeless. I met a lady, MIT graduate. She used to live half time under the underpass on 30th in MLK when I lived in West Oakland. She had a patent for an X-ray machine, but her husband got hurt in the service, and so they couldn't even afford. They got kicked out of their house. That's not okay. So we have to have a complete overhaul. We've been wasting millions, hundreds of millions of dollars these last couple of years, faking, putting Band-Aids. Time's up on that game.
All right. Okay. Drop the mic right there. So we are ready for closing statements. We'll start off, again, going down the line, Renia, Loren, then Barbara. We thank you all for your time. You will have 90 seconds.
I just want to say thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you to our hosts. Thank you to Ms. Barbara Lee and to Mr. Loren, because it's not easy to put your life and your family on the line for something that you all care about. I put my life on the line for Oakland. Some of you guys might call me a whistleblower or a snitch, but it's time that someone starts to stand up for Oakland, because we've been played a game for far too long. I was listening. I love old school music. Frank Sinatra. The best is yet to come, Oakland. You have a leader in me that cares, the integrity. We're going to do it, but it's going to take all hands on deck. I'm a tough little girl, young woman. I'm the only woman on my sailing team. I'm a four-deck man. I man a 35-foot boat. I handle business. I'm a mother of four, already put 2 kids through college. I care about it, but I'm going to need all hands on deck. That means I'm about my neighbor. I am my brother's keeper. That means if we see something, speak up, say it. That means we're all going to clean up our neighborhoods. I'm going to handle the city, but you guys got to take care of your neighborhoods. And last, I would say join me on March 24th. I've been bringing tens of millions of dollars to California through CalVIP. Join me at our state capitol for Advocacy Day, March 24th.
Thank you so much. Go for it.
I similarly want to thank everybody for coming out on a school night to talk about the future of this amazing city that we love. Yes, we are a beautiful city with so much potential. And at the same time, we have hit some rough patches. To get through this current situation that we know is unprecedented, it requires a different approach. It requires renewed energy. It requires experience of actually working on the ground, delivering results, and expanding on that. That's what I bring as a former council member, a political outsider with just enough experience inside and outside of City Hall to know what needs to be done in order to fix our current problems. Also, not encumbered by the political establishment that is unwilling to make certain changes and will always hold us back from what we know is necessary. We have to make some hard choices in the near term so that we can rebound and come out stronger and more prosperous on the other side. All of us equitably lifting up the entire city. That's what I've been doing as a council member. That's what I did in creating Liberation Park, turning a vacant lot, growing weeds and litter waist high, and turning that into an urban oasis. That's what I did when I brought people together to solve our toughest problems, from public safety, addressing moving the needle there, to housing, more than 800 units of housing in my district added to the pipeline. And I look forward to continuing that work as your next mayor.
Thank you so much. All right.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you all for being here this evening. A couple of things I'd like to say. First of all, I'd like to be the next mayor of Oakland, California, because I want to initially try to steady the ship. It's so important that we have somebody who has the leadership ability to be able to bring people together, to be able to look at our budget, look at why we're in the hole we're in. The structural issues here in Oakland didn't just start as it relates to the budget. I believe we need to have a charter review. Oakland's not a strong mayor form of government, nor a strong city administrator. We need the citizens, the residents, the voters of Oakland to decide, do they want a strong mayor or do they want another form of government? And so that's one effort that I would like to mount as your mayor. Measure NN, comprehensive approach to public safety. On day one, I would want to see us implement Measure NN. The voters voted for that, and it's a roadmap to ensure public safety for every community. When it comes to housing, let's look at more transit villages. Let's look at more land trusts. We can bring down the cost of housing if we think out of the box and use our hard-earned tax dollars to be more Oakland-centric, based on the needs and the income levels of people who live in Oakland, who the cost of living is much, much too high here. Finally, I'll just say, I'm a social worker by profession. I'm a hands-on person. I like to close the loop, make sure that everybody has the resources that they need to live a good life, and I want to be your next mayor to help make life better for everyone here in Oakland. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Let's give a round of applause for our three candidates. It takes a lot of guts to run for office, much let alone Oakland mayor, so we wish them well. Thank you for your time and for answering all these questions. We sincerely appreciate it. We wish you all the best, and now I'll pass it off to Victor Flores.
Thank you all for joining us and bearing with the time constraints. Thank you to the candidates for putting yourselves out there, for being in the hot seat. Thank you to our moderator, Megan Imperial. And of course, if you'd like to learn more about the organizations that hosted this, Greenbelt Alliance, East Bay for Everyone, Housing Action Coalition, and Save the Bay, please check out our websites. We will post this recording on YouTube within the next few days. We do have to be out of here at 8 p.m. sharp, so please head to the exit in orderly fashion. But if you want to keep hanging out, some of us will go to Night Heron, if you want to keep hanging out. With that said, thank you all so much. Please have a great night.